For the next 30 minutes, we have on Mr. Dave here. Dave is the owner and founder of Silencer Shop, which happens to sell most of the suppressors in the country.
That's right.
And before we get started, one question I have is, how do you build an empire the size of Silencer Shop? Um, did you go into it thinking, "Hey, I'm going to build this awesome, huge company," or was it something that just happened every time?
It was just an accident. When Silencer Shop was started, I meant for it to be a hobby. I liked my job. I didn't want to quit. I didn't even want to own a business, and it just blew up so fast that it just kind of took off. I think, and the reality was there was a giant demand for somebody to simplify the buying process more than I ever could have imagined, and that's the reason it took off.
Yeah. Well, people are saying that it is kind of quiet. I don't get that. Let me just boost up the
No, I
mic.
think your audio's good now.
No, they're saying Dave. So,
Oh, can you hear me? Okay, sorry.
yeah,
No,
yeah.
Dave's audio's good.
I can boot. I don't know. All
Okay.
right. Tell us why you started Silencer Shop. I know the answer, but people out there don't. Why did you simplify the way
It
of
really
running it?
it came down to when I bought my first silencer, and this is like, you know, 2007, 2008 time frame. I bought it because my son, he was born 100% deaf in his right ear. His other ear is 100% good. So we were trying to protect the hearing in his good ear. And the experience went very poorly. I almost didn't get the silencer at all because the dealer actually went out of business during the wait.
Oh,
I did end up getting it. It was kind of
Oh.
lucky. So the second one, I went to a more established brick and mortar shop, right? And the experience was just as bad. They wouldn't help me with the paperwork. They basically wanted me to do everything on my own. Of course, I got an error letter because I screwed something up. They wouldn't help me with that. And then at the end of the process, I ended up getting actually a different silencer than what I thought I was buying. The whole thing was a mess. So I thought, the idea with Silencer Shop was just to help people in the local area do transfers to kind of help them work around the paperwork issues I had had, just to simplify the process for people. I never intended it, like I said, to be what it has really become. Although I'm not upset.
yeah. The kiosk have really changed the game.
Yeah, the kiosks were really a response to. Uh, I don't know if you remember Obama's rule change in 2016. Prior to 2016, when you bought a silencer, you didn't even have to sign the application. Most people don't even remember that. Even when we talked to ATF, that wasn't that long ago. A lot of people just don't even remember. It was super, super, it was just paperwork, right? Post 41F in 2016, not only did you have to sign the paperwork, but you had to submit fingerprints, photo,
Mhm.
notify your chief law enforcement officer. All
Oh,
these
jeez.
additional requirements were added,
Oh yeah.
and the kiosk really helped us simplify the process as ATF changed it.
Yeah, I see Roger Frame out there. Roger Frame, I hope you're getting better. He says a cripple needs suppressors. Roger's like one of my really good friends, and he's been struck by something called Guillain-Barre's.
Oh,
So he's kind of paralyzed a little bit, but he's getting better.
Okay.
So yeah, I've been keeping up with you on Facebook, Roger. You need to give me a call. Okay, with the silencers, you simplified it. What type of background do you have? Do you have a software background?
Yeah, I really am. I'm a computer programmer, right? And I'm not the kind of computer programmer that manages other programmers. I'm the kind where you lock me in a closet and code comes out. They don't let me talk to people. I mean, that's just who I was, right? And I've been doing it for 20 years. Yeah, that's my background, 100%.
Yeah. We had a question. Was that change part of the 41 PF?
Yes, that's right. Yep. In 2016, when that went into effect, that's when the kiosk really became necessary.
Yeah. I want to ask you about some myths around suppressors. And I know the people out there don't, I mean, I'm sure the people out there don't believe the myths. So I really want to get into, how do you think these myths started? Like suppressors make everything dead silent and no one can hear anything.
I'm pretty sure I know the answer to that. And I think, you flash back to 1934, and at that time, they passed a law where you had to pay a $200 tax, submit paperwork, get approval. And as a result of that, nobody owned silencers. The only source of information for silencers from 1934 till about, the early 2000s was TV. So really, movies defined it. And I always compare it to, when I grew up, 80s, you're watching TV. If you based car accidents purely off what you saw on TV at the time, you would know that cars always explode when they get in a wreck.
When you watch Chips.
That's right. Absolutely.
They jump up in the air.
That's right.
Yeah, they're writing a parking ticket on a car, it explodes.
Of course.
Yeah. I took somebody shooting, and I was shooting my suppressed AR, and they were like, I think something's wrong with your suppressor. And I was like, why? It's like, because it doesn't sound right. I was like, what do you mean? They're like, isn't it supposed to be like a high pitch, like pew pew?
Pew pew, yeah.
I was like, no. It's like, oh no. I know Mythbusters. I don't know if you saw it, but Mythbusters did an awesome show all around suppressors.
You know what? I actually have not seen that, but I do know that as things like that come out and people are starting to become more educated, education is the key to this market. People kind of, as they understand what they are and what they aren't, hopefully a lot of this mysticism goes away.
So here, for me, I want everything I own to have a suppressor on it. I live in Florida. I can shoot on my property, basically in Florida, if you have an acre and a quarter, an acre or greater, and the rounds don't leave your property, you can shoot. I just don't want to piss off my neighbors.
Right. By shooting their house.
Well, number one, yes.
Sound.
But yeah, and it just seems, what always aggravates the heck out of me, I don't know if Richard Monder's in our audience, but he's our resident foreigner. He's from England, but he's a big 2A supporter in the States here.
Yeah, we actually have 2A supporters from like England, Norway,
that one guy.
So,
yeah.
Yeah, we have Australia. We have people from around the world watch it.
When people want to tell us how stupid we are and we should do what they do in Europe, we should just accept whatever legislation coming our way that restricts our right, because that's what they do in Europe. Well, in Europe, you just sign a piece of paper and say you want that silencer over there, suppressor.
Well, silencer is the technical name for it, actually.
And it's considered rude in Europe if you hunt without a suppressor.
Yeah, I stress all the time for hunters, that's one category of people, of shooters, that every hunter should be using a suppressor. And I think probably a giant percentage of hearing damage is actually done to hunters. Yeah, that's right. Because it just ruins the experience. Even the electronic plugs, it's just not as fun to be hunting with them.
Sure.
You got to take one shot all day, so people just don't use anything.
But we all know that 99.99% of every suppressor sold in the United States is involved in a homicide, right?
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. I was debating a Mom's Demand Action person on a radio show. And I think Richard's probably heard this. And I said, hey, I use a suppressor because I want to protect my ears. And it's still really, really loud. It's just down to the point where it doesn't damage my ears. And she basically pushed back and said, that's not true. It is dead silent and there's no need for a suppressor. Do you have to deal with people like that?
It used to be more, honestly. Flashback even 5-6 years ago, we had way more of that. Now, I feel like at least gun owners understand. It used to be that not even gun owners understood what a silencer was. And it's still not 100%, but it's probably the majority of actual shooters. at least have been exposed at some point to suppressors.
Now, the suppressor market has exploded in the last 5 years.
Oh,
like you
yeah.
said. Probably a little bit before then. So my question to you is why?
A lot of it is education. To me, the biggest thing that started this was the $200 tax stamp being impacted by inflation to a point where it became affordable. So I think people started thinking, man, I could swing $200. I want a suppressor. It's a heck. If you look at you take most flights, you look at the receipt, you'll see you pay more than $200 in tax on a lot of these flights. So people, they could afford the tax. I think that's what it boils down to, and then education on top of that.
Now,
Well,
go ahead.
Hey,
Rich.
what I got to say is I always I don't want to give the government any ideas, but it's always amazing to me that in 1934, was it? A $200 tax was like 6 months' salary for the average person.
Yep. It was priced to be the same as a Thompson machine gun at the time.
So they just wanted to, like, and the dumb logic on the NFA was it's legal. You just need the stamp, and in some states you can't get the stamp, other states you can, but it's just so expensive, nobody's going to do it.
Right.
Thank God it's not keyed towards some inflationary measure to, make it $50,000.
Yeah.
We really dodged the bullet on that one. There's also something that the anti-guns push, and they say that suppressors full shot spotter. Before you answer this, let me just remind someone out there that the Chicago IG in Chicago did a study, and there's been other studies, and shot spotter is only accurate 9% of the time.
9.
Did you say 9?
9. Yeah, I got an article about it. Yeah, all the internal studies say that they only work 9% of the time.
I think I could set up a couple solar-powered Raspberry Pis and stick them on telephone calls and get better ratings than that.
Do you guys respond to the antis when they say that it fools shot spotter? I'm not even familiar with shot spotter.
No, I don't know a lot about it, but everything I've ever heard about it is that everything fools it. Balloons popping, firecrackers, cars backfiring.
Yeah.
Everything either is or isn't what they think it is.
On AmmoLand, I have all the studies on it I wrote about that they don't exactly went out there. And that's how I found out that it's 91% false positive rate.
Yeah.
Dave, I'm not sure how old you are, but you ever watch Don Adams and Get Smart?
Oh, absolutely. I loved that show.
Do any of the silencers work like they do in Get Smart?
They do not.
No?
How
And
do they
for
work?
those of you
I
that don't know, you have to yell while you shoot a Get Smart silencer.
That's right.
Yeah. So the market has exploded. You guys simplified it with the kiosk. Is that patented, or can someone else rip it off?
The thing about software patents, we did in my earlier life, I think I've got about 12 patents issued. But about the time Silencer Shop started getting into this type of stuff, the Supreme Court had a ruling where you can no longer patent software or processes. So since everything we do is software or processes, we really don't have any patents on it. We rely more on just trying to move the technology forward as fast as we can and just being innovative.
Oh, that's good. How do you get the kiosk in gun shops?
It really... The thing about the kiosk, the first 300 of them that we did, we actually gave them away because we knew that in order for this to be successful, we had to have a network, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now it's gotten to a point where dealers, they look at the numbers, and the dealers who have a kiosk versus the dealers who don't have a kiosk will sell multiple times more suppressors because it simplifies the process so much. So dealers come to us and we basically make them as fast as we can. Now, we actually don't sell those kiosks at a profit. We actually sell them at a little bit of a loss. We try to break even on them, but our goal is to get them out there so dealers and customers can be using them. Right.
Yeah, it's kind of like the game console method.
Yeah, that's right.
You sell the game consoles at a loss, and then they buy the games and everything, and you get a percentage of that. So that's where you make your money at.
Yeah, but we've got enough of a demand for them now that we make them as fast as we can.
Is there like a waiting list or a wait time to get them?
There is a wait time, and I tell you, I could speculate on what it is. I know it's a few months. I don't know the exact amount though.
Yeah. Do you see like anything like the Hush Act or the Hearing Protection Act passing anytime
You
soon?
know, I treat both those a little bit differently. Something like the Hearing Protection Act, I actually do think that long term something like that will pass. I think that's, in my personal opinion, at least 10 years out. And I think what we need before something like that passes is to actually grow the market more. Because right now, there just aren't enough silencer owners for us to be a political force, right? As the market grows, education increases, people like you are pushing out this message. The market will grow, and at some point, I think that's possible. The Hush Act, on the other hand, and this is something that I had never considered until probably within the last 6 months. But I think in some ways, silencers being under NFA, or being not under NFA, but being regulated as firearms, actually does give us protection, because now we have Second Amendment protection. Whereas if silencers were just an accessory like a flashlight, which in reality is what they should be, but if they were treated as a flashlight, they could just be straight up outlawed. We have a bit bad political environment, and they could just be yanked out from under us. So we do get some protection from the way they're regulated. Hopefully that all makes sense. It's probably convoluted, but that's kind of been my thinking in the last few months. But HPA, yes, I think that's possible.
Yeah. My boss, like the head of AmmoLand, sits on the board of the American Suppressor Association.
Yeah, I'm on that too.
You know Brian Johnson?
Sheesh, I don't actually.
Yeah.
So I probably should.
Yeah. Yeah. He's the CEO of AmmoLand.
Okay.
Yeah. So I've been shooting suppressed for years now, and when I first started shooting suppressed, like you said, there was hardly anyone doing it, and it was a very, very convoluted way. And I'm pretty smart, and I got confused, and I had to go to someone else who knew. So I really appreciate how the kiosk is making things simple. I have a friend who's also a chicken farmer. It's a joke. He's my lawyer.
He argues before the Supreme Court.
Yeah, he argues.
Is known as a chicken farmer.
Yeah, he's the guy that argued the bump stock and stuff like that.
Can we tell his FFL story?
Maybe a little bit later, Rich. But yeah, so he went to buy a suppressor, and he wouldn't buy from anywhere that didn't have a Silencer Shop kiosk because he wanted the simplicity of it.
It really does. It simplifies it, and it's the first time you use it, 5-10 minutes, you're done. But after that, it's like there's nothing to do, because we capture all the information the first time through. You buy the suppressor, DocuSign your paperwork, and you're done. We just take care of the rest. I feel like it's a pretty fantastic system.
Yeah. Do you think that the kiosk helped Silencer Co. grow? I mean, not Silencer Co. Silencer Shop grow?
Yeah, I think there's no question. I think it was a big risk and a giant expense. Seeding those 300 kiosks was several $1 million to get those out into the market. But it's not only, I think, helped us grow, but I think it's actually helped the industry grow, because the alternative would be everybody has to go to the sheriff's department, get fingerprints rolled. Everybody's doing ink all the time. I mean, the alternative is actually pretty cruddy, right?
Yeah. Did you ever have any nights where you woke up and said, "Man, I think I made a bad mistake with these kiosks"? They were rolling out.
I tell you, for most of 2017, I felt that way. So after we'd seeded them, and then the whole industry went through kind of the Trump slump. That was a scary time. It really was.
Wow. Yeah. So, what is the biggest myth surrounding suppressors? Not for outside the gun world, but inside the gun world. A little bit different.
Inside the gun world, I think for people who haven't owned them, there is a lot of people thinking they're silent, and they're not. But I think the thing I hear the most, even from gun owners, is the whole "I need a Class 3 license to buy one." And that's just not accurate.
Class 3 for that.
Yeah, and I think people took, it's just not true. So you basically pay a tax, file your paperwork. That's it. There's no real license involved.
Do you think that the wait time on NFA is going to come down anytime soon?
This is a guess, but I do believe so. And I'm basing that off last year, where the number of applications the ATF got actually increased last year, but wait times came down dramatically. I think they're really, believe it or not, starting to get a handle on their processes. I think, and this is me being a little bit of a conspiracy theorist, I think there's a little bit of a nefarious reason for them even now to want to push wait times lower, because if they can make it seem like the process is super efficient and simple and easy to manage, then they can start making the pitch that AR-15 should go into NFA. And I think that's what we just need to be aware of.
You know what? I wasn't even thinking about that, but you're absolutely right.
That's nuts. So, I didn't. Wow.
I never thought about that, but that would make a lot of sense.
And that's just, I think we need to be pushing to get things out of NFA, right? We want wait times to come down, but we just need to be aware of this as a threat, I guess is the point I want to get across.
Yeah, to let people know that it is out there.
Yeah.
And wow. I never thought about that.
Maybe I shouldn't say that publicly.
Yeah. ATF is probably sitting there taking notes somewhere.
That's right.
Yeah. ATF really does not like me. They won't talk to me.
Well, maybe I should get off this show. I mean, I see y'all.
Hey.
Just kidding.
Yeah. No. Well, I love my ATF guys out there that feed me information.
Nice.
What's the
are you talking about the ATF guys that are paid to watch your show, or
no, that's what's the next big move for Silencer Shop?
Right now we have some really, really big stuff coming that I cannot actually talk about, but I suspect by the end of the year you'll see some changes that will be probably unexpected. But in the meantime, we've actually just pushed out a new customer portal to make that simpler for our customers. We're getting ready to push out a new dealer portal. We have a new kiosk software version getting ready to launch. That's a pretty dramatic improvement, especially in the fingerprinting side. Next year, we're hoping to get a new mobile app out. But this is all kind of, what's that?
The mobile app. Talk about that.
Our mobile app right now, it'll show you like your registration information and allow you to take a photo, but it doesn't really do a whole lot else. We're trying to push the rest of our infrastructure in and kind of build a core, I guess, platform, right? We have all the underlying APIs built. We just haven't put UIs on top of everything. So we're basically skinning it, if that makes sense.
Rich and I are both software guys.
Oh, good. Then you perfectly understand.
Yeah, we both worked on software in the past, and I come from the whole tech world. We came from Facebook.
Nice.
Yeah, I did web app development for most of my career.
And see what happened to Facebook after you guys left. I mean, come on.
I left Facebook. I left Facebook because of the anti-gun stuff. I just couldn't take it anymore.
That's right.
So I just, upped and said, can't do it. Too different for me. And I walked away. a lot of
Nice.
other people who are pro gun. There were some pro gun people high up in Facebook that walked away
Really?
before I did.
Hmm.
Yeah, they walked away because of the anti-gun stuff, because it just went so anti-gun. It was crazy. So once they left, I was like, all right.
Yeah.
So, one of the things I've always made fun of, and two things that I think there's incredible lack of knowledge on. One, I know of like 2 or 3 crimes in the last 50 years committed with full auto firearms. I don't know of any crimes committed with suppressors.
There were
Seriously.
there's been a
Oh,
couple.
go ahead.
There's
there
been a
have-
couple, but not a lot.
But the number is so small. It's like it's not even tracked by anybody. It's like 2 in the last 30 years. It's some stupid number like that.
So
These things,
there's
they are not
probably
a
more
threat.
deaths with lawnmowers than suppressors.
You know, man, I absolutely think that's probably true.
Well,
In fact, I would put money on that.
Right?
no, I
Yeah.
know they in Virginia Beach there was an incident where they blamed that heavily. I don't know.
Yeah,
But-
that was just a couple of years ago.
Yeah, that was an interesting.
Oh,
because they're
right.
like, oh, this made the shooting much deadlier, and then they were interviewing people who were talking about
The guy had
hearing the shots.
The guy had a pistol and went into one of the town government offices,
That
right?
it was a municipal center.
Municipal center.
But there's not a lot. It's one of the stats that I like to quote is last year in 2020, more people died from accidentally getting wrapped up in bed sheets than from ARs or rifles total.
Well, more
Which-
kids
yeah.
die in swimming pools than than firearms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think
Yeah, the
that
sad
what's-
thing is if every time, and this is the stuff that's more common can't be publicized, right? Because it just happens all the time. We'd be bombarded with it. The stuff that's less common can be sensationalized more, and I think that's why some of this gun stuff gets sensationalized. If it were happening all the time, they couldn't run it on the news because there'd be too much. They couldn't cover anything else. Does that make sense?
yeah, it makes perfect sense, and that's one of the things I always say. I always bring up the fact that hey, it's on the national news because it's very uncommon.
Yeah.
You know, it wouldn't be on the national news if it was common or if it was an epidemic.
Well, that's like plane crashes,
Unless you fly with Rich, then
unless
Gosh.
you fly with them.
you don't know. Rich crashed into a house with his plane.
2 houses.
Is that
with
where
one
the flying rich comes from?
Yeah,
Well,
the
yeah.
pilot, and then he crashed into a car with a plane.
A
Congrats.
stop sign, speed limit sign, and a car.
Yeah, so
Nice.
that's why we have the kamikaze patch for him. Yeah, but yeah, I know you only had 30 minutes, so I do want to thank you for coming on.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, guys. It's fun.
It was a great time. Anything you want to plug before you get out of here besides Silencer Shop? Or you can plug Silencer Shop.
Seriously. Yeah. Silencershop.com. Check it out. There's a ton of information on there, videos, and we got social media. I mean, just check us out. A lot of Silencer stuff.
Yeah, it's more than just a product. There's other stuff on there as well.
That's
It's just-
right.
Yeah, which is kind of cool. I will be buying a suppressor from Silencer Shop soon. I'm thinking
Yeah.
300
Let us
blackout.
know.
I have a bunch of AR suppressors, and I have 22 suppressors, 9mm. I don't have a 45, and I don't have a 300 blackout. So I'm going to.
Oh, that
buy
300
one of
blackout
those.
is made to suppress. If
Yeah,
you
exactly.
need, you need a can for it if you have one.
Yeah.
Yep.
I got multiple 300 blackouts and no 300 blackout suppressors. So I'm going to have to change that.
That's
Yeah,
right.
My
Save
buddy,
up the
his,
money.
his PDW is a 300 blackout pistol with a suppressor with subsonics. He's like, hey, I use it at home as a self-defense weapon, and this way I don't lose my damn hearing.
Yeah, but
That's
you guys
right.
will be you guys will be seeing an order for me shortly. Almost there for the money saving, but I get there.
Awesome. Like I said, just let us know. It's yeah, we'd love to have you try out the process if you haven't with us already.
No, I haven't tried out the silencer code process at all. I've been doing the old-fashioned way,
Oh man,
filling out all the
But Dead
paperwork.
that is so
Scrolls.
2015.
I know. All right, Dave. Thank you so much for coming on.
All right, thanks guys.
All right, guys.
I'll see y'all later.
See you later. We'll be right back, guys, right after the word from our sponsor.